At the entrance of the Tokyo Skytree sits a massive digital mural by TeamLab. We're going to use a text describing this artwork to reverse engineer the logic needed for high-level PTE reading tasks. We'll deconstruct this paragraph step by step to isolate the specific grammatical constraints that make only one choice possible for every blank. Let's focus on the first sentence and the options for blank number 1. However, whereas, whichever, and wherever. Syntactically, whereas requires a second contrasting clause that is missing here. Whichever and wherever act as relative pronouns or adverbs, which would require a following verb or a specific noun phrase to function. None of those structures exist in this opening. Notice the adjective massive right after the blank. However functions here as an adverb of degree, creating a dependent clause that translates to no matter how massive the art becomes. This illustrates a core strategy. The grammatical identity of the word immediately following the blank often dictates the only possible choice. In the second sentence, blank number 2 presents a common prepositional trap. If you read for general meaning, related with might seem plausible, but the word related strictly pairs with to. Choosing with ignores the formal requirements of English collocations. We need the fixed collocations subject to, which indicates that the art's form is affected or influenced by rampant inflation. Now look at the phrase had something, followed by a colon. Pause the video for a moment and determine which of these 4 options completes the expression correctly. Because the author is identifying shared traits between different art forms, in common is the only phrase that completes the logic of the sentence. When facing engineered traps, you cannot rely on what sounds right. Mastering rote prepositional collocations is a necessary defense. To reset for a moment, this is the subject of the text, Toshiyuki Inoko. He is a physicist who uses traditional Japanese art to explore how we perceive space in a digital medium. Returning to the analysis, look at blank 4. Inoko is discussing 2 concepts, photographic lenses and conventions of Western art. The author groups these 2 concepts together. Because we are looking for a word that connects them rather than separates them, we eliminate apart from and out of in favor of along with. Identifying lists or pairings within a sentence allows you to immediately narrow your options to words of addition. For our final blank, we have to analyze the relationship between 2 different sentences to find the macro context. The previous sentence focuses on conventions of Western art, while the final sentence introduces Japanese traditions. Since these 2 ideas are presented as opposing traditions, result words like therefore and thus are invalid. A contrast word is required, making but the only logical choice. Now let's codify these universal rules so you can apply them to any text on exam day. First, check the immediate trailing word for grammatical requirements. Second, identify fixed prepositions. And third, scan for macro contrasts between sentences. Success in PTE reading relies on solving a structural logic puzzle. Every blank connects to a specific, verifiable grammatical link in the surrounding text.